Call the Brit Island Township Board meeting August 10th to order. First is pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The first order of business is companion animal control. Brit Harmon. Can you come up to the speaker if you don't mind?
So, you hear me okay? I own and operate companion animal control, and I hear you're in the market for
Yes, we are.
animal control
No doubt
services. So
about
you
it.
should already have your contract proposal.
Yep.
Gave you a very low monthly
Right
rate
here.
considering your population size and that kind of thing. So, mostly here to answer any questions that you might have, concerns that you're specifically maybe wanting to address with animal control, that kind of thing.
Well, we do. Two animals in a resident's house here attacked a person.
Okay.
And she got severely damaged. Her ankles. It was pretty ugly. And that's the ones that we were able to get dangerous dog against them.
Yep.
And so they have that, and Dan has been observing the property, and I think we're good with that, right?
We've had some days that are good, struggling with the muzzle thing a little bit. Some days I go there and they're on a leash without a muzzle. Some days they're with a muzzle. He has fenced his property now or put a gate up, and he does have a enclosed structure ordered for the side of his house to put in for his dogs for outdoor dog things, so they won't be able to get anywhere. Slowly getting there.
Did you have an official dangerous dog declaration from St. Paul Park then? What was your?
I'll let Cheryl answer that.
We issued
You did.
dangerous dog, one dangerous dog and one potentially dangerous dog.
Okay. So, I mean, the potentially dangerous dog has its own requirements, right? And the dangerous is obviously much stronger requirements. For enforcement of that, we follow an appeal process that they have. It's all very well outlined in the state statute. And then for enforcement, there's certain measures that we take to make sure that they're in compliance. They have 14 days to be in compliance, and then after that, if they're not, we seize the dogs. So it just depends on, whether or not that declaration was upheld with that due process, but I'd have to review, case reports and everything to know that for sure.
So is that something like in this scenario, if something were to happen again, like you guys would be there with the service that we're paying or whatever to walk right through everything and all that? Because we didn't really, I guess we found out we didn't have that. So we've been trying to do the best we can at it.
Yeah, generally, most of the time Washington County will send out a deputy if it's an immediate concern, right? A bite that's in action and a dog that is at large, and they advise us and request us to go out and provide backup. If we know who the owner is, it's just a matter of containing the dogs, rabies protocol, quarantine, that kind of thing.
Okay.
And then they forward all their case reports to us and we follow up with enforcement. So,
Okay.
and then we work with them for citations and seizures if they're not following.
Okay. I think. Do we have it on the agenda here? Oh,
Yeah,
animal control, unfinished business, animal control. Okay.
So do we have, would this, like stray cats, stray animals, if dogs are roaming, would this be something that we would just reach out to you guys and you guys would come pick up the animals or do whatever?
Yeah, a lot of cities and townships will put it on their website, so residents can call directly. Some residents want to only have it go through dispatch, and then they can kind of control cost a bit more. But we're particular about cats. We don't go out and trap feral cats.
Yeah, no.
Go bankrupt if we start trapping
Yeah.
feral cats. But if they're friendly, they're healthy, we're usually having a conversation with the finder saying like, you need to check with your neighbors, 4 to 6 house radius, hold on to it for a day or so, and if you don't find the owner, call back. So dogs, of course, we're picking up pretty immediately and not letting that hang out for long, but cats are a little different.
Would we contact you if somebody had horses in their yard?
Yeah.
Okay.
Most of the time, it's just getting them off the roadway, right? Public safety, and getting them a place that they're secure.
Well, if they don't have large enough lot to house horses or ponies.
Right. Yeah. Then it's basically case by case of just we'll go out and
Okay.
put them on halters and they climb up and start looking for the owner, basically.
Okay, and I think we'll make a motion to accept that tonight.
Okay.
Do you guys have or know of a program for like cats if they were rounded up as stray cats for cheap spaying, neutering, or anything like that to not necessarily remove them, but so they can't keep repopulating?
Yeah, removing them actually increases your population. So if you say you have 5 cats in a property, if you take out maybe 3 of them and you leave behind 2 females, the food population increases and the females will go from having 3 kittens to 12 kittens.
It's like a coyote.
So you end up,
Wow.
you end up making your problem way worse.
Okay.
But yeah, Animal Humane Society does up to 5 surgeries a day for free. They have all those resources on our website.
Okay.
Inform residents when they call to it. So.
Get the fishnets out, boys. We're going cat hunting.
Well, thank you.
What are
It'll
the-
be about,
What are the fees?
Yeah, what are the?
We just do it right now.
What are the fees, Paul?
yeah, okay. I'll make a motion to accept, I'm sorry, let me again.
Companion animal control.
Yeah.
Did you have the monthly fees?
To accept the contract from Companion Animal Control.
I'll second that.
Paul, what are the monthly fees? Or what's the contract? I haven't seen it.
I think it was like $40 a month.
He's got it up there.
It's pretty low.
And then per call or what's
Yeah, per call, there's a,
per call. It's just a flat rate, daytime and nighttime. We don't do hourly for that kind of thing. So then you can kind of estimate where you're at with cost.
Okay, what's the flat rate?
Daytime for that contract should have been 100, and then it should be 175 for overnight.
something like that's on there, yeah.
Round trip mileage. And I have a team of 10 transporters, so when I pop out this human, we'll still have,
And if it's for a resident's dog, for example, that gets charged back to the resident.
Right. So it is important to clarify, which I think we actually might have had this conversation about South St. Paul Animal Hospital being your impound. So it sounds like you've had kind of an informal relationship with them, with St. Paul Park basically holding the contract. Is that right?
Yeah.
Were you able to connect with them to set up a formal impound contract?
I don't think you did you, Cheryl?
I haven't yet, no.
Okay.
I was waiting for this. So.
Yeah. So I can connect you with the vet there too. As long as you've been impounding, they're not taking on new contracts, but since you've been existing, I'm sure it'll be fine. So they charge their fees to the owner when they reclaim, and then they'll collect owner information, and you can invoice the owner for the animal control pet fee if you want to have restitution for that. So.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor. Any comments? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. So
Thank
you're
you.
in.
I'll just get a signed contract from you later if you want to just email it over.
I will.
Perfect, right?
Thank you so
Okay,
much.
thanks.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Next on the agenda is the approval of the minutes from the July 13, 2022.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from July 13th, 2022.
I'll second it.
Sorry. Nope, you're good. Have at it.
And all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Treasurer's report.
A review of the July financial statement. We have beginning balance and checking of $93,704, expenses of $39,748, and revenue of $43,635 for an ending balance of $97,591. Our investment accounts finally went back up, so that was good to see. Expenses were higher because of late snowplow payments we had for both the county and Bulow. And revenue is interesting. Revenue is down because usually we get the levy in July, but we got it in June this year. So that was $58,000 difference. But on the good side, we received that refund from Washington County Public Works for the overcharges. So that was $25,000 that came back in. So it's nothing alarming on here. If you look at our balances on the bottom, we're tracking a budget on public safety. General purpose, we're running a little hot, and road and bridge will probably go slightly over, but we also should take in more than what we had budgeted. So looks fine. Nothing unique this month otherwise.
Okay. I'll make motion to approve the treasurer's report.
I'll second that.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any comments? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. Okay, let's pay the bills.
I'll make a motion to pay bills 111 through 121 for a total of $4,169.03.
I'll second the motion to pay the bills.
Any questions on the list? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Reports of committees and meetings and events. Planning Commission did not meet, so I'm not expecting a report. The next Planning Commission meeting is Monday, September 12th at 6:30 p.m. Next town board meeting, Wednesday, September 14th at 7 p.m. Variance hearing for Aggregate Industries continuation is Wednesday, August 17th at 6:30 p.m. And we'll move on to unfinished business. 2022 road repairs.
Last we talked Pine Bend paving. The guy thought end of August, sometime around there.
Okay.
He didn't promise that, but he figured that'd be about when it is.
Yeah, because we want to get it straight.
Yeah.
I don't think we're really doing a whole lot of major stuff. Just
No.
Yep.
Yeah, Dick took me around and showed me where.
Yep.
You know. A little bit on Geneva, not too
Yeah.
much.
Anybody who was wondering what we're doing, we're patching the holes, fixing the shoulder in a few places, putting gravel along the shoulder in a bunch of different areas.
Okay? We're good?
Yep.
And
We should probably, one thing at the roads, I guess,
Okay.
we should probably look at starting to look at next year this fall to try and get budgets. Just
Yeah,
on how
I
hard
think
it
that's
is, so.
a good
Yeah, we
idea.
probably want to do
Yeah.
some bigger projects next year. Yeah. All right. If Scott approves it.
Oh, another thing on the roads. I was looking, we'll probably have to do some tree trimming this fall.
Well,
when the leaves
and
fall
cutting
off.
some grass too.
I think Cheryl called the grass cutting guy.
That was done yesterday.
Oh, okay. The trimming or the grass thing?
The ditches?
Yeah.
Yeah, and we will mow the ditches yesterday.
Oh, okay. Thank you for letting me know. Next item is animal control. We took care of that already.
Can I want to say one thing, I guess, with animal control, because
Yep.
I kind of heard some of the comments you had made. I just want people to, like, my opinion, my viewpoint is fairness to everybody in the community. So if we have property owners with maybe more animals or something than they're supposed to have, I think we need to be aware of other property owners, other things, and just treat everybody with fairness. So if certain animals, just because they're being, if they're not doing no harm, that's up to discretion. But if we're going to come after somebody for maybe having a few extra animals, we better go after the next person for having a few extra animals. I'm not in a position to pick and choose just because of likes or dislikes of people or anything like that. So that's just my view on that, and I'm just going to leave it at that. I know we have a lot of properties that have probably more livestock or whatever you want to call it than what should or could be allowed. And
I
to
think
me,
that's
it's
fair.
just the
That's fair.
health of the animals is what's
Mhm.
important. If the property's whatever. So that's my 2 cents.
I just got a question on the animal control thing now. because I didn't get a hold of this prior and that. So if they come and pick up somebody's dog, do we have it in our ordinance where we charge the people back for this $100 or $175?
It's in the animal ordinance.
It's in there, okay, all right,
Yep, that they have to pay the fees.
okay.
Code enforcement update.
Minspect, our contract with them started at the 1st of August.
Oh, great.
And the attorney asked that they go out and review the Kulo property
Yeah,
one more time because he's supposed to have a court date the first week of October, but I've yet to get a definitive date for that. So Minspect is coming out, an inspector and the contact or liaison that we're going to be working with. The two of them are coming out next Tuesday. They're going to meet me, and then they're going to inspect the Kulo property.
okay. Thank you. And building inspections, that's what we're going to use for building inspections, right? Or is that?
You'll
Not
have
the
to
same.
vote on it.
Yep, okay.
Yeah,
We'll do that in
November?
November, I think.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, this is the Aggregate Industries variance request. Is that something that that all the letters came in?
Well, it was brought up last month that you guys wanted to discuss it here and at the planning commission meeting. I said I didn't know, but I didn't think you could. I was wrong. The attorney says you can. You can discuss it at this meeting if you like. You can discuss it at the planning commission meeting if you like.
Well,
Say we open it up to public comment if anyone wants to add other than the emails we've gotten for starters.
You guys talk about it, that's what we need, you guys can talk about it. You got one public hearing set, you can't.
I don't know, that's what we discussed. Yeah, either way, whatever.
I don't think we need to talk about it. We got our public hearing coming up next week.
yeah.
I've gotten all the information from Aggregate. I think that they have gotten input back from a few citizens along with you guys, I think.
Well, and I've got the a copy of the petition that went around, and there's a lot of signatures on it.
Okay, that one I didn't get.
Yeah, I got
It's
that.
probably the same one that went around a year ago, maybe, or a
2020.
different one.
2020. I can send it to you.
Okay.
Yeah, could you send it to both of them?
Yeah.
Thank you.
So can I just ask a quick question here? With respect to us as the applicant, was I must have not known. So Cheryl actually asked me to bring copies of a concept reclamation plan that you had.
Oh, I actually like that.
So.
I saw it. It's really nice.
Bring copies of it if you want.
That's
We-
okay. I think we all.
We got them.
Yeah, we got it.
Cheryl had requested that I bring her copies for you.
Now, I got a question for you. Now, the email that you guys sent out, it's stated for, like, those on the email list use only. Does that mean we're not to share them? Because I didn't want to show anybody that when I seen that on your email for privacy. We got an email from, well, it was from Egg Industries, must have been Tom, and he had the map attached to it.
Oh, I left it.
Did Tom send you that directly?
Yeah,
Because I got it through Cheryl, I think.
I got it.
or maybe it came through Cheryl. It did come through Cheryl. Yeah, I just didn't know if it was for public information, just because of the way it was worded.
Cheryl would have to speak to that as to what it said. Hey,
I certainly didn't intend that.
you had requested this at, I think the June 1st hearing.
Pardon me?
I think you guys had requested it at the June 1st hearing.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, I can give you, okay, Cheryl then requested, when Tom sent the email out, then Cheryl requested that I bring her copies. Which I did.
I think I'm the one that brought that up to Tom, Patty, and what we're more concerned about is when you come for like a 5-year permit or something like that, to have some type of reclamation plan.
Well, you did ask for this at the.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
And then I just wanted to read this with you. This is just an example of one of our former white sites that has been fully reclaimed down in the Minnesota. Just to give you an idea that we do reclaim our properties. We work very closely with the municipalities. In some instances, we are working with landowners when they're lease sites.
Now Lakeville, is that a rock quarry or sand and gravel?
Sand and gravel. Yeah, so.
That's a little easier to
It's a little
reclaim
easier
than,
to reclaim, you're right, but this was the Larson proposed, the concept.
Concept,
foundation
yeah.
plan that was done by an engineer, obviously.
Yeah.
It wasn't done in-house, so it is very feasible that that be done, and that perhaps we combine into the open space that's shown there and residences as well, so.
I did the plumbing at 3 of these buildings in this place.
what's that?
I worked there for like 2 years doing plumbing over there.
What did you?
Yeah, we were
Not in the
very closely
houses.
with that. We graded that site before it was turned over to the developer,
Yeah.
so it was fully buildable.
Maybe you don't know at this time, but what would be in the intentions of who would own this?
I can't answer that question right now.
Okay, yeah. So other people know the thing they gave us is just a concept drawing of a reclamation plan of the Larson Quarry. Not a finalized thing or approved thing or anything like that, just something to keep our minds busy. That's,
Just to give you an idea of what it would be.
Yeah.
That it would not just be a hole, that we would abandon it. We do not do that. We're not,
Not-
nor would that be.
not a hole in the ground with a few piles of leftover stuff here and there. I would just say when it gets to that, we'd be working, I would assume, real close with the county
Yes.
on that because,
We
you know-
work very closely with the town board as well as the county.
yeah, because the county's the one with all the reclamation requirements in their mining permit. Ours is,
Yes.
I don't even know if it mentions reclamation
I
in
don't
it.
know if it does either.
I don't think it does.
Obviously, we don't want
Yeah,
folks to be happy with.
yeah.
what we end up doing with that.
And as shown, it'd probably end up being county land or something like that, because I don't think we would want it. Yeah.
Potentials for that site, when we find out, are very nice.
Okay.
When I forwarded it, all I said was that it was from Tom. And all Tom said is, please see the attached reclamation plans.
Somewhere in the bottom of there, it said something for intended use of the email on this or something. That don't matter, as long as Patty handed it out as public information anyway.
Oh, that probably, well.
You see,
It says this email is confidential and intended only for the use of the above named addressee.
that's what I was talking about.
Oh.
What, yeah. Well, I just wanted to ask him, I didn't want to show this, we got a little one, of course. I didn't want to show it to people if that wasn't their intention at this
Well, I
time.
just wanted to be known that it is conceptual at this point.
Right, and it says that right on the thing.
But all emails do say that.
Okay,
It refers to somebody accidentally gets that email, other than.
Okay.
the purpose, legal accepted, they're not supposed to do anything. That's what that's.
I didn't want to make them mad, that's what I just.
Sorry.
Yeah, right.
Okay, so the next item of business is mitigation planning update. Is that what
You
we just
met
talked
with,
about?
you met with the county about it, and then you were going to work on it.
Yes, that was the one that Ray had drafted. It never got into the, it never made it to the county. So I would like a little help from maybe the planning commission to help me go through that. And I could do that the next planning commission meeting. So they have something on the agenda. And it's the emergency mitigation planning, or plan.
Okay.
And I'm not gonna get a response from her till probably November, December. But just being there at the meeting constitutes us participating.
Okay.
Any other old business or
Yep.
unfinished business?
The only thing I got on other would be, is start thinking about what we're gonna do with the town hall. Cause, we gotta be out of here in May of '24. And we don't wanna build anything in the winter of '23 if we build something. So we really gotta plan, I'd say sometime before February, what we intend to do. If we plan to build another place, rent, whatever we do, just kind of keep it on your minds. And we've gotten a lot of ideas from the public on this in the past. So, I've heard people say, fix the roads, don't build a building. Other people said build a building. But just keep it on your radar. We should
Yeah.
And then another thing to keep in mind, I think the amount was, if any township built something, I think it was $175,000. It's got to be bid. So it ain't like,
Yep, it would be.
So it ain't like
well
we,
over that.
yeah. So it ain't like we can. Well, we'll hire a carpenter, we'll hire a plumbing contractor, electrical contractor. We can't split that up.
Right, because it's over that.
Yeah. So if we build something, basically we got to get an architect or somebody to draw up what we want, and then get a general contractor to do the thing. Which all, brings the cost up on everything, but that's life. Being a
Well, there
metropolis.
is, along with this mitigation plan, there is some funding from the county for certain things. Like if we
Oh, you're talking about a storm shelter now,
built
weren't
it
you?
as a storm shelter,
Okay.
then we would get some funding.
Oh, well, keep your eyes open for that. Then
Yeah.
maybe that would be.
Yeah.
And why not? Why wouldn't we? If
Yeah.
if it works out for us. Yeah. If that's the road we decide
Now,
to take.
Cost of the building would be more.
Yeah.
Would probably be concrete block.
Yeah.
And we could get some decent looking concrete block.
Yeah.
And
Might not.
some kind of attachments for the roof.
Yeah.
'Cause we wouldn't-
Might not
we
be.
wouldn't want a flat roof.
No, it might not be that much more than the money. If we got money from them, it might actually decrease our out-of-pocket
Yeah.
costs.
Yeah.
But anyway, just keep thinking about it in the next few months.
Okay.
Dick,
Yeah.
I just got something about that from Dick Adams.
Yep.
Some concept that he came up with in 1985.
Okay.
So I'll give that to you.
Oh yeah, another thing on that. The way I'm looking at that, when we get to that point, instead of, because they, the prior board, they had a town hall committee and this and that, and let's put this, I don't like giving stuff to a committee, say the planning commission. Well, you guys think what you want. And then they go through a bunch of work, a bunch of effort, and it comes back to us three. And we say, well, no, we ain't got to do that anyway. Well, it's kind of disheartening to them to spend a lot of time and effort on something when us three come along and veto it. A building permit, something like that, you have rules, ordinance, and stuff in place to follow. And on this, there's nothing to follow. So whatever we do, kind of need us three involved right off the get-go, along with, members of the public if they want to figure out what we want to do. Because I don't want to send people on a wild goose chase and then pull a rug out from under them.
Well, let's move on to new business.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
With that, I mean, that seems like one of the biggest orders of business for this township to decide on money-wise, do we want this? And would that be an appropriate thing for a ballot question, yes or no? Should we use our town funding to build a structure, or are we better off
you know,
Probably not this year.
not this, okay.
I don't think so.
Well,
Next year would be a better.
Doing
well, now that you brought it up though, Cheryl put out in a newsletter once or twice, and the results came back, wasn't it about 50-50?
Yep, it was.
So that's kind of.
What was your
kind of been
response
done.
though? How many people did we get? Good response? Like a lot of people. I mean, I kind of like the idea of Jeff's thinking. It's not a bad, just to make sure people are
I
aware.
thought you got 20-some people, didn't you?
Yeah.
How many?
20-some, which is pretty good for 100 and some households. I mean,
How many
really.
people voted in the primary yesterday? 92.
Well, that's just here. We don't know absentee ballot. Yeah, but 92
And a
people
lot of
were
people
here.
don't care.
Is there a
Maybe they
certain
should.
date we'd have to?
And they can leave it blank if they.
A lot of people don't.
Is there a certain date that we'd have to have it in to have it on the ballot if we did think about that a little or not? Is that coming
Yesterday.
down? Yeah, perfect. Where were you, Jeff?
Yeah, yeah.
We tried, Jeff.
Well, we kind of know where the people are coming from. You know, just,
Yeah.
And I know you want to be transparent and you want the township's input, but bottom line, the three of you decide yes or no. So.
Right.
Yeah. It doesn't have to be voted on.
I think the vote would come back the same thing as our response, about 50-50. And we'd be right back in the same position.
I can say for me, like I personally just, with changing of police and everything else, I think we just kind of buckle up, and if we did get moved out of here, we would just find a place to rent or do whatever, and just kind of see how things play out and see how happy
Yeah,
people
there are
are.
places to rent.
Maybe it,
it
and
wouldn't be
hopefully
that-
costs will come down. But yeah, it's something to think about and find out.
I think there
But we
was
have a lot of
a
options.
place in St. Paul Park. where
Jeff's house
Yeah,
is
just-
close. We can do one of those tents. Those, yeah.
they-
Yeah, just for the-
He's got a bigger house.
We ain't paying him though. We can get free places. It should be. Well, just for the public's information though, that people ain't here, we kind of got three options. We can build our own place, but people are against that. There's places we can go for free. I think Cottage Grove has offered us their place. St. Paul Park has. All of the, I shouldn't say all, most of the school buildings you can go in for like a janitor's fee. I think that Washington County Government Center we can use for probably a small fee. But then on the drawback of that, it's like, say we have a meeting here tonight and we say, we're going to continue it until, the 45th or whatever day. Makes it a little harder to do that because you got to make sure you got a place to go on the 45th or whatever month. So everything's got its pluses and minuses, And if we build our own place, it's got to be handicapped accessible. You're going to have to heat it. You're going to have a septic system, which may probably freeze because you're not using it in the winter. Somebody's going to have to clean the thing. I mean, right now, thanks to Cheryl, she sweeps the box elder bugs out of here. I mean, you get another place, you can't expect the clerk or whatever to clean the place and clean the toilets, what have you. So,
I would think if we were to build something, we'd hire a janitorial service.
Yeah.
to come.
yeah, so our costs would go up somewhat to take care of it, heat it year round. We'd lose the cost of the
Speaking
back door
of clerk,
Biffy.
how about we talk about her salary? Moving
That's
on.
next.
Oh, that's next.
Next
You
time.
gotta wait. Be patient.
Are we ready to move on?
Yeah.
Okay, clerk salary. So, Cheryl, can you share with me what you had found the average clerk salary?
I was going to look for what Elizabeth had solicited, wasn't I? Yeah, I forgot to do that.
Oh, okay.
But I had someone tell me last summer that they stepped in as interim town clerk in Wisconsin for $33 an hour. And then, what's the one I just talked to? They have a new town clerk, Denmark.
$49,000 a year.
Yeah.
Denmark's $49,000. I was down talking to her.
But
She's
she
there
just-
every day from 8 to 4. I don't
Okay.
know vacation and benefits or anything like that.
Okay, then it was a different one I talked to because they said she was full-time. Now she's part-time. And what?
West Lakeland,
Thank you. And it was $30 an hour?
33.
$33 an
Okay,
hour.
and she's part-time.
At the moment, yep.
So in your opinion as a clerk, like, I find it easiest for the township to just have a budget, like a straight monthly pay, or do you feel an hourly rate is a better way to go? Like, what's a, I mean, it's just nice with the budget and stuff where you're gonna have busier
Right.
months, less busy months.
Right,
We can see how good our pay is with all the people lining up to take the clerk position.
correct, correct. And I looked back and I think it was like February, March of last year, so that would have been 21. I tracked my hours for like a 6-week period, and it can be variable, like with the election. I mean, there's a ton of hours for elections. At that time, it was anywhere between 17 and a half and like 27 hours
A week.
a week.
In your opinion, no, let's back up here. Here's the reason I'm the one that suggested this to put it on here for tonight. Okay, because what I'd like to do is, if we're going to change the clerk's salary, I'd like to change I'd like to be able to say what the clerk's salary is. Well, of course, the thing's closed now, ain't it?
What's closed?
The filings. No, they ain't
Till the
closed yet.
16th.
16th
Okay,
at 5.
I'd like a new clerk, if they file, to know what the terms are prior to filing. That's what I put this on. Now, all we could do tonight would be, let's just say we said, well, we should make it this amount. We can agree to do that, but we got our salaries by ordinance. So we have to change the ordinance to change the salaries. And I don't want to have a public hearing to discuss changing ordinance if we don't know what we're going to make salaries anyway. It's kind of a waste of public hearing. That's kind of like to know what they are, and we can still have the public hearing to get input. Follow where I'm going with it?
Yeah, I do, but I think we could make a motion tonight to,
What do you think? You're the one. I like to ask people that are doing the job. What do you think? Is it too much, too little? Should be twice as much, half as much?
Well, when I was tracking it, I averaged it out, and it came to about, and again, it's going to be variable. It was about $12 an hour.
wow.
That's probably half of what
Yeah.
it should be.
Can we cut anything out? Here's what I struggle with. There's no job description. There's no description of the role and responsibilities, the duties. Can any of the duties be eliminated? I think Cheryl's asked to do things that she probably shouldn't be for a township our size. Maybe I'm wrong.
Scott,
We should be able to cut things out.
It's specified by state statute what she has to do.
yeah, it's defined in state statute, it has clerk duties. It's defined.
Okay.
I personally think the clerk is probably the most important person. If we don't have a clerk, we don't have a township. I mean, I get there's going to be busy days and not, but it's a very tough role to just fit in. It's a hard position to do. You're on the email 24/7. You're always available or whatever. I think with saving the police thing and stuff, we need to make room to take care of a clerk a little better or more appropriately. And I understand, there's times with variances or different things that come and go. But I think we should be looking at upping it.
And I agree, maybe there's stuff Cheryl's doing by statute she doesn't have to do. But if Cheryl doesn't do it, who's going to do it? She sweeps the floor in here for us.
Certainly not you.
I know. In all seriously, that's,
And I don't
yeah.
do it very well.
And then let's talk about, as long as it's on here, I want to talk about all the salaries. Because if we're going to do anything, I'd like to come to some type of a, presumed agreement before we'd have a public hearing. So let's talk about the treasurer's salary. He's probably getting too much. What do you think yours? Enough? Too much? Happy with where it's at or what?
I think it's fine unless we have to do some kind of referendum, then it would be ridiculous. But as of what we're doing right now, I get paid very little, like 5 of the months, and I get paid just fine the other 7. So I'm fine with it.
And you're getting $500 a month, right? Just so people know.
Yeah.
And that's 3 up here, again, what? 175 and 185 a month?
Yes.
Perfectly happy with that. I think the
Yeah,
clerk's the only.
and I'm fine with that. I didn't take it.
Can I make a motion tonight to increase the clerk's salary?
I was gonna make it 1,700 a month. I don't know, what are you gonna make? Well, yeah, make a motion. We'll talk about.
I was gonna add $10 an hour.
Well, the only trouble is you don't know how many hours. It's not hourly.
Well, it is when,
If we hire somebody, we do it by the hour, but when they're voted in, she's a voted in public official.
we've increased her salary, position salary several times since I.
But it was set, it was never hourly. It was still monthly. It's been changed, but it's still monthly.
I get that.
Okay.
But the hourly rate, I think we agreed on was $21 an hour. Last,
I never heard that at all, no. All I ever heard was monthly. Is that what you remember, Scott, been monthly all the time? Let's put it this way, salary?
It's always been monthly. The question is, did he try to do a figure based on an hourly? I don't know that.
Yeah.
So
Well, what about this? You think 1,700 a month is more reasonable? Too low, too high?
I would think that's good.
I just want to be fair. You know, I don't want it too
Right.
little, don't want it too much. And my biggest concern is a new person coming in this job.
Right,
You
right.
voted, you signed up for election, you got voted in, that's what we're paying you.
and Cheryl, are you paid monthly then?
Yes,
Okay, so that was the $9.90.
yes.
So at
What?
60 hours, that's about 28 an hour.
You figuring that out by the hour there, Scott?
Yeah, at 80 hours a month, that's 21. And at 40 hours a month, it's 42.50. It kind of depends how many
Depends
hours
on
how many
the-
hours we expect
yeah,
this person to
depends on-
put in.
What'd you say? 15 hours a week minimum, probably? Average year round.
A good week would,
A light week, you mean?
yes, would be 15.
So what's 60 into the 1,700?
28 an hour.
20 an hour.
28.
28. That seems to me reasonable. And that's on the weeks that there's the least amount of work to do from what Cheryl's telling us.
Is there a way we could create something for billable hours? Because if you break down the work that's being done for strictly the community, it's probably a lot different. Like we've been dealing with aggregate variances, we've been dealing with some of that other stuff. Is there a way to have a lower amount, but then when you have that kind of stuff, to have that like a bonus or that extra work at an hourly rate or something?
Let's talk about that in just a minute, and I'll tell you why after we get to it. Because
I just look at, that's a huge.
but you guys happy with 1,700 a month for the clerk?
I think it's a huge jump, but if I'm not there. I don't know what it is.
And there will be months where she's making $12 an hour.
I think if we
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
if we have somebody
Other
new
months she
coming
might
in,
be other months she might be overpaid.
maybe we should shoot for like 1,400 for a new clerk and use that difference money to back pay Cheryl a little bit for her work or her service she's done or something, and maybe not jump rate to 1,700. I don't know.
No, I'm not looking for anything.
Well, you might as well get it now.
No, I'm not looking for anything.
No, I know, but if we make a motion tonight,
I knew what I was getting into, and I feel it's part of giving back to my community.
I understand.
Kind of like what us three do.
Huh?
Kind of like what us three do.
Yeah, yeah, not nearly as hard as.
And we put in, we don't put in there the hours she does, but we do run around and do stuff,
Well, can we make a motion tonight to increase the monthly salary to $1,400?
14 or 17?
Well, let's start low.
Oh,
14.
how much?
14.
Oh, 1,400. Let me ask Cheryl. If you had to do it over again, well, you won't do it over again anyway, no matter what the pay is, but you think that'd be reasonable, 1,400 or not?
That's $23 an hour at 60 hours a month, if you average that out.
60 hours a month, that's only 15 hours a week.
Yeah.
You know, the question is, will you be able to attract somebody? I don't know.
We might not be able to attract anybody for 1,700 a month either. you know.
No. I think 1,400 is a good start point.
Okay, well, Lung, you two want the 1,400?
Yeah.
Okay, so now let's do this. We can't increase it tonight at a meeting, because we gotta have a variance hearing, because the wages are set by variance. By ordinance, excuse me, by ordinance, so we gotta have a variance, public hearing to amend our pay ordinance. Okay, so we'll tentatively, agree on 1,400, right?
Yeah.
Should we, is there show of hands, yay, nays, anything? Anyone, opinions?
Well, I don't even think we have to
No?
vote on it, because we can't officially do anything.
So, oh, they're in for next month.
Okay, so they can
Yeah, we'll have to.
do their homework, send your
Okay,
emails.
And we leave him the same, us three the same.
Yep.
And then the other thing I wanted to touch on, and I know when it was my idea to get rid of that by the meeting thing and go by the monthly thing, but when we did that, Paul brought up, he said, well, what if, I'll just use Paul for an example, what if we got to send him on 15 meetings in a row for some unknown thing? And we thought we had that covered. And I did, you did, we thought there was a little paragraph in that ordinance that allowed us to do that. That's not in there.
No, we took it out because it was difficult to predefine, and it was going to be very gray. And you guys decided if there was some special project, like I don't know, pick one that required that
That we would
that
be
you
allowed.
that you do something.
Yeah, and
We'd be allowed at a meeting.
We didn't
to
put it
just
in the
say
language
that.
because the language trying to do that ahead of time is pretty sticky. So that's why it came out.
Okay, you want to put something like that back in there? I think we
I
should.
would like to. Yeah.
Okay, I'll work on
I
something.
mean, certainly during the annexation proceedings, there was a lot of times.
Yeah,
A lot of times.
I'll try and come up with something we put in there for that to cover a situation like that.
Yeah.
Okay. Then I don't know, as long as we're talking about that, let's just say instead of Willie going and taking care of that tree on Sunday morning, it would have been you and Dan or somebody else. Right now, we can't pay ourselves. It'd be volunteer work. I don't know if you want to, we could do that at a different time, I suppose, different.
Yeah.
Think about that too.
How do we pay Andy? He mows the stuff. We just make a
Well, it's
motion
by
to pay
ordinance. We're set by ordinance and limited by ordinance and limited by by state law, what we can do. There was a thing, what was that, Minnesota Association Township, if you want to pay us, you got to fill out it, other than our base salary, you had to fill out some other form. I can't think of what it is off the top of my head.
There
was another document you had to file with the state in order to do that. And we've never done that. But I think we could do that anytime. Okay, so if anybody calls for clerk and says what the salary is, tell them that the board tentatively agreed on $1,400 a month. And then we'll have to have a public hearing to change that pay ordinance we have to include this in there. You want to have
Do you
that?
want to have that before the next town board meeting?
Yeah, might as well.
Okay.
Can I ask a question?
If it's easy.
It should be. So because it's an elected position, is it advertised somewhere? Like I feel like I'm involved, but I didn't really know. Like I heard that she's not really running, but people may not know. Like how are people gonna know that this is available?
I think did you?
I sent it out in a newsletter.
But is it something that it can't be advertised? Can it?
We could try and put signs somewhere, I guess, to get, yeah.
Because I think the problem is maybe people don't even know, other than the few that know Cheryl, maybe.
I know somebody that's sitting back, hoping somebody else does, but maybe we'll file on the 16th.
We have Amy, we have a resolution coming up tonight that I'll read when we get to it.
Yeah, do you want to wait until the end of the filing period to decide if you want to hold a hearing to change this pay?
No, because well, we could as
I mean, because
I just want if a new clerk runs, if somebody files, I want them to know here's your pay before you jump into the job.
I think if we agree that the clerk is underpaid, then we should try and move it along as quickly as possible and get it up.
but if no one files, then I mean, it's a waste of time to change the ordinance.
Put out a newsletter that the spot at the clerk is, position is gonna be open, you put the salary in, you might get somebody in the township to buy it.
We could do that.
Yeah, I can send it out again.
Okay.
Go ahead and get the salary up, and sure, get the benefit of the empty.
Well, we can't change her salary until we change that ordinance.
Public hearing, but you can do that at the next meeting.
Which we would
She's
know if
trying to
anyone
not have the
filed.
public hearing
Right,
until
that's
after the
correct.
election.
Yeah.
Well, then you can't tell anybody what the salary's gonna
There you go. That's the point.
be. That's the problem. That's
Yeah.
If you wanna do it.
Can we put it on the agenda basically?
I think we should have a public hearing
I
before the
think-
next town board meeting,
Yeah.
just for that.
Just do it right before, and then we would know.
Yeah.
We'd have the answer if someone filed
Yeah.
or not filed, and
Okay.
Well, we won't have,
just six. Yeah, it's coming up
Well,
next week. We'll know.
that's-
we won't have the, we
It's a
won't have the hearing
catch-22.
before the filing closes.
Next Tuesday at 5 p.m. It closes.
Yeah.
To file to get your name on the ballot to be elected to be the clerk.
Correct.
That's right.
And I mean, this is a unique position. How many people have done this before? It has to have a huge learning curve. I mean, people are going to entry level jobs and making $18 an hour. Coming into this, I mean, you have to know a lot of stuff. Like, even people who have, been in other jobs other than entry level, like, they probably would have no idea. So, yeah, it'll be harder shoes to fill.
That's what they've always done.
Yeah.
Every township burns on the fly.
Yeah. It's kind of like that all over the state. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and Elizabeth mentored her
Yeah.
for quite a while. You know.
Or do you want it to just go by word of mouth? If somebody asked Cheryl, and we could put it in the minutes, the town board tentatively agreed to increase the clerk's salary to $1,400 a month, pending.
That's the problem. It's just like Jeff was saying earlier. This is who we reach. So
We'll read the minutes
yeah,
other than
yeah.
those of us probably,
Yeah.
that's what I was
We need a big sign.
Well, people
There's one
that-
way on, one way off. Let's put
Well, people that are interested in it will probably ask
How
They don't
about
know about it. They don't know about it. That's the problem.
about the pay or the job.
About the job. How do they know?
Well-
That's the problem, I think.
There's not much we can do about that. It's posted in the paper, board seats open, treasurer seats open, clerk seats open. So it is a public notice out there.
treasurer seat's not open? Just clerk and
Oh, I thought treasurer was too.
no.
You're stuck with me for 2 months.
I know every bonfire I've been to, I've told the people around, because if we don't have a clerk, we don't have nothing.
I was
So
say, what do you do if you
yeah.
don't have someone?
What about
That's next on our agenda.
those?
you got 6 days to get it out.
Right. Rectangular signs that light up that you sit out in front of the town hall, said looking for clerk,
Yeah.
part-time, X number of dollars.
The guys who spin the signs.
There you go.
One of those guys?
Yeah.
Well, in all honesty, I kind of think anybody that's interested in the job, they have to live in the township to be voted in.
Oh, you have to?
Yeah.
Well, then that's-
Yeah, and I think anybody that's interested probably knows about it. We're not that big of a metropolis.
You have to have a new business, just like you can hire somebody that doesn't live in the township.
That's if we make
If
the
no one
clerk.
runs.
That's a different issue. Yeah, if no one runs.
Yeah, then there will be a question on the ballot.
Okay, so I'll change what I wanted to do. Let's just tentatively agree to change it to 1,400. Anybody asks, the town board's intention is to raise that salary to 1,400 a month, And if somebody runs for clerk and gets it, then we'll change that ordinance. How's that?
Cheryl, is clerk 2 years or 4 years?
4.
Okay. Got that for your minutes there, Cheryl? What we're gonna do?
Tentatively $1,400 a month.
Yeah, board has tentatively agreed to raise the clerk's salary to $1,400 a month.
Next item on the agenda is records destruction report.
Yes, I sent it to the 3 of you for review, the documents that I went through for destruction.
Great. Do we need a motion on that?
Yes.
I'll make a motion to approve the records destruction report. Cheryl second.
I'll second that.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, the next one is the resolution. I'm gonna read this whole thing. Resolution 2022-07. A resolution for ballot question to approve option B, providing for appointment of the town clerk and treasurer. And I'm gonna read the whereases too. Whereas the Township of Great Cloud Island is an urban town in accordance with Minnesota Statute 368.01, and whereas Minnesota Statute 367.30 subdivision 4 allows for ballot question, shall option B, providing for the appointment of the clerk and treasurer by the town board, be adopted for the government of the town. And whereas subject to adoption of option B, the office of the town clerk and town treasurer shall be filled by appointment of a majority of the town board. And whereas the appointed clerk shall serve for an indefinite time until resignation, inability to serve, death, or until removed from office. And whereas the salary of the appointed position shall be set by the town board and may not be reduced during the term of office. And whereas this resolution is subject to approval by the town electors in the 2022 general election. Therefore, be it resolved that the Township of Great Cloud Island directs placement of the question on the ballot for submitting to the voters in the event that no one files for candidacy for clerk. Adopted by the Town Board of Supervisors of Great Cloud Island Township this 10th day of August 2022.
Well, I'll make a motion to approve it, then we can, if we get a second, we can talk about it.
Second that.
Motion been made and seconded. Any questions?
What happens to Scott, and we never did ask the attorney on that, what happens to him in this case? Say we did that. He's just out, because he's got 2 years left evidently.
Well, you could run for re-election.
No, it wouldn't be an elected anymore.
Well,
You would-
this is-
you would appoint him.
If no one files, then you can appoint.
Right.
But if somebody files, then you don't.
I'm not up for one.
Not this time. but you
Well,
will.
I know, in two years.
This ordinance, once it's in place, notice and nobody applies, then you can appoint, but otherwise you can't. And I was looking at this, I don't know if that language is completely statutory or not, but this thing reads it's a lifetime appointment, like the Supreme Court judge. You can't.
Supposedly Snyder took that right out of state statute.
Maybe you can, but then you can't change the salary grade for life, you can't lower the
Well,
salary.
you can't lower it for,
You could raise it, I suppose, but it said here you can't lower it. I don't know, much of that is 100% statutory and you're stuck with it. You can have some flexibility. You should be able to remove somebody who don't want to serve anymore.
Yeah.
Applying for indefinite term, maybe you could apply for 4 years at a time or something. This says it's forever.
Okay, so it doesn't really say that. It says, the salary of the appointed position shall be set by the town board and may not be reduced during the term of office. So that's a 4-year term.
No, this now says
No.
the clerk shall serve for an indefinite term until resignation, inability, or serve or death, or until removed. I don't know what it takes to be removed.
Yeah, that's not a very good. Yeah, that doesn't read very well.
That's what I don't know. I'm just pointing it out.
Do you want me to have Dave look at that again?
Well, there's, okay, I read one here where it says, okay, where you say, the appointed clerk shall serve for an indefinite term until resignation, inability to serve, death, or until removed from office. Well, couldn't we remove him from office?
I don't know what that means.
If we can hire him, I would think we can remove him.
That's good.
Okay.
We gotta change that
It shouldn't
to,
say indefinite term,
it should be.
4-year term, and then
the-
you can reappoint or something.
Yeah,
Well, I don't want any term in there. What if we hire a complete loser?
But then can't you still
You
remove
know.
them,
Well,
same way you're trying to do?
you can remove them right here.
Well, for a maximum of 4 years. What's that?
No, if we're gonna hire somebody, I mean, you're gonna hire somebody that, well, I gotta keep it for 4 years no matter how good or bad you are. No.
We got to do that with you.
Could it still be an
Well, they got rid of
elected, an election potential every 4 years and they're appointed? And if nobody runs against them or runs for it, then, and you're happy with them, you just continue for another 4 years? But if there's an election.
Well, I don't wanna be in the position we hire somebody and let's face it, we're probably not real good at screening the candidates for the job. And you get somebody we hire and they're not capable of performing the duties of the
We
job.
got that covered. The appointed clerk shall serve for an indefinite term until resignation, inability to serve, death, or until removed from office.
Right, but then some people were saying, well, it should be 4 years, or what's the term, you know? I agree with what you're
I
saying.
think it should be 4 years.
I think Scott should get elected.
I guess you could change the wording so that you would have the option to have
Yep.
somebody run for election.
Yep.
Or if not, then you could appoint them.
Well, there's a whole thing with the Minnesota statutes.
Okay,
Yeah, but back to my original question, what happens to, okay, say nobody runs for clerk. We appoint a clerk, hire a clerk. So now we got a clerk and a treasurer? The intent of this was to combine the two jobs.
Oh, no, well, I don't know that you want to do that.
That's what most townships do.
That's two different skill sets even.
yeah,
I don't know.
That's
it is.
what they do in Denmark Township. I was down there
Or-
talking to her, she's the clerk and treasurer.
Lori has a comment.
Yep.
It's more of a question, because when I read this, to me, it's like, it's a resolution to approve an option B for appointing someone. Like, and then it's the statutes and then the resolutions at the bottom, like it's saying that there can be a write-in.
Yep, and there were two that the attorney gave us was option A and option B. So this is why this is option B, because we don't have option A.
There's option A, B, C, and D defined in state statute. And
Yeah.
option A is for a 5-seat town board.
Yeah,
I don't know what C and D are. B is for appointed clerk and treasurer. You can change this to be only clerk if you want.
yeah. Let's do those. We'll do two things.
Okay.
We'll change it to be only clerk,
Okay.
and we'll change it to have a 4-year term.
Does
For
this
your
read?
appointment. For your appointment.
Yes.
Okay.
Does this only apply if nobody files?
This question will only go on the ballot if no
nobody-
one files.
Okay, and that would be repeated every year then, or whatever, for the next term, if nobody filed for the next term or something?
You'd have to go through the
Do you?
process
Okay, all
again. Yeah. The county said it's easier to put the question on the ballot ahead of time and remove it than it is to get a question on the ballot at the last minute.
Okay.
Are we totally taking the voice of the electorate out by answering this ballot question now? And, you know, if we say we are no longer electing a clerk or a treasurer or whatever it may be, is that then going to be the new law forever, or are we making a permanent decision based on the scarcity right now? Because it might not be the scarcity
At least 3 years.
at least 3 years. Okay.
You have to stay with the option for at least 3 years.
Okay, so get through a 4-year term. I just,
That's, yeah.
the situation on the ground right now isn't necessarily always going to be the situation. It might be a thing that people will want to vote in their treasurer and their clerk in the future. I don't know. I'm just saying, you know. I'm a democracy guy. I like people choosing rather than vote. But I understand right now if you don't have anybody.
Then we get to-
somebody's got to do the job.
Then we get to appoint you.
Yeah. So, I'm gonna recall my motion to approve this resolution.
Okay?
Well, the problem is when you have to have this to the county.
They wanted it as soon as possible. Do you want to approve it with the stipulation that it be changed to only the clerk, remove the treasurer, and make it a 4-year appointment?
Yes. Should I add that to the motion?
Yes.
I don't want the
Okay.
myself, I don't want the 4-year in there.
Why?
That's what it would be if somebody filed, they would have a 4-year term.
Yeah, but then that's not under our doing. They were elected.
Maybe
in
we should do a 2-year term with it and hope that somebody would run in
I don't want
2
any
years.
term. I want to be able to hire somebody, and if they're not doing the job, remove them.
Well, you still can.
Yes. It's renewable every 4 years, and that's a good idea, unless somebody files, then if they're elected, well, then it's.
If they're elected, it's none of our business. We don't control.
Okay, well, I'll add
Cover
a,
for the next 4 years.
I just want to leave it where we can hire somebody if the clerk don't run. I don't want to have to hire somebody and guarantee them a job for 4 years.
So let's do 2 years. It's a short
I
period.
don't want to
of time,
guarantee
and
them
then-
any time.
Right. He doesn't want any term.
I don't want any term. And
Okay.
unless you're hiring a CEO or General Mills or somebody, you don't hire somebody and say,
So
well,
what
we hired
grounds
you,
can
we'll
you
keep
fire
you.
them on if you have no term in there?
If they're not complying with state statutes, not doing the state law, not doing the job as required by the state, not showing up, not answering the phone.
I would just like it to show up on the next ballot for an election. If we make an appointment, the next available main election, I would like it to be on the ballot again for
Right
the
here.
elected people to do that. Right, but I would rather have it an elected position as soon as possible, available to be on the next ballot again, like their term would be up at the next, if we appointed them at maximum, we would be appointing them till the next available election that the people could try and run. Yeah, that's what I'd like to see versus, I
Well,
want people to be able to apply for the job in 4 years and somebody else run against the clerk if they wanted. I'd like that
well,
option.
we'd have to turn around and change what we're doing now, we'd have to reverse that. We'd have,
yeah, okay.
no, because the option we're doing is one of the options listed by law in order to hire a clerk and redo what we're doing. In order to redo it, we'd have to get another resolution to go back to an elected clerk.
But I can make an amendment to this resolution.
I don't know if you have to put forever, is it, this says an indefinite term, I don't know if that's accurate.
Yeah, indefinite means plus or minus.
Couldn't it say something like, in the event that nobody is running for the treasurer, the board has the power to appoint for a 4-year term?
If somebody applies for the job this election cycle, this won't be on the ballot.
They'd have to apply by next Tuesday.
But what they're saying, what I think the concern is that if somebody does wanna apply, run for the position and get elected in 4 years, how's that gonna happen? Not sure.
This won't, if somebody files,
Nothing,
Not this time, for next year. So in
Oh.
2026. In 2026, how would somebody put in to apply if we have an appointed position that doesn't have an ending term? Would it still be,
we can,
would it still end up on a ballot where
I
somebody
don't,
could
I
run
don't know the
against them?
exact question, we'd have to ask Dave, but
So why not just put a 4-year term on this? It ends at the next election cycle, which it was. We could still remove
Well,
them
we
from
could-
office with this
we could
wording.
actually advertise for a clerk in 2 years.
That's what I just tried to say. I'd like to have it back to the people as fast as possible. If we're appointing somebody, I'd like, if somebody decided they wanted to run in 2 years, that I'd be great with that. But otherwise, 4
We
years
would
should
have
be
to
the
turn around,
max.
and put something like this on that ballot to reverse this.
We're making
Because we're
this
putting,
too hard,
because
chief.
well, no, I'm doing what I think what we have to do.
I think
It's,
you can write it into this ballot question that this time around we don't have a candidate to take Cheryl's job. But
That's the only reason it would show up. So in my opinion, we should make a motion to approve this with a 4-year term or a 2-year term maximum. We can still remove them prior if they're not doing a good job and reappoint somebody else. I think it's that simple. I think if we leave the open table and don't put a term on it, then do we have a right to be able to put it on a ballot for open election again in 4 years, or don't we? If it's an appointed position that we appointed for indefinite term, then that person runs until they don't want to, whether we're happy or not, or we remove them. But if, just like us,
Well-
we're up in a few years, people should be able to run against
it
us.
doesn't say infinite term, it says indefinite.
Right. I just,
Like a vacancy in office, you get a city council member that resigns mid-term, the council fills it out for the remainder of the term. You don't undo the cycle that's already built in every 4 years, you keep that in place. But if you got a vacancy, you can fill it, that's just what you're doing here. And if somebody files to run at the next time, well then, if they're elected, then they're elected.
as long as we're guaranteed they can file next time with filling this out, that's what I want. I want to make sure that,
That's how I see it.
I think what Dave gave us here is what's required by law in order to do this.
Well, we don't know that.
think it-
Indefinite sound right.
no.
So,
And then,
so what did I ask you to change?
change it to only clerk, not treasurer. You said 4-year appointment, but I will tell Dave what you want and see if he can come up with wording.
Okay,
And if,
I'd prefer if you can ask me if we can do 2 years, because that's the next presidential, that's a big election. If we could just keep it short.
no,
If, okay. I'm just thinking if we're appointing it, that's all I was thinking about.
It's always
Okay.
been nice to have them on the,
Opposite?
yeah.
Perfect.
Because at
Okay.
least one of us knows what they're doing.
So,
Still look at
okay,
us.
so,
well, wait a minute, Scott says he's up in election in 2 years, right?
Right, we should always be on different.
So we got an election in
Yes.
2 years.
So the clerk and treasurer should be on different, is what you're saying. Yeah. So we should just see if we can do a 4-year term limit on it,
state statute says
and we could reappoint in 4
Yeah.
years if we had to.
clerk on one ballot, treasurer on the next,
Yeah.
or treasurer. Okay, so what was the last thing you said, Dan?
To just have it say up to the 4-year term, and then we could remove if they weren't doing good.
Okay, so you want,
You don't have to put a time on when you can move it any.
Right. Correct.
You
Yep.
don't have to specify
Yep.
any time.
So it'd be a 4-year term appointed, and then
and you want this to be, temporary for 4 years. You don't want to have,
if that clerk was doing really good, she could file to run, and then people could elect her.
okay,
in
so
4
you want
years.
people to be able to file again in 4 years?
Yeah.
I'll ask you if that's possible.
Okay.
okay. So, the motion's been made and seconded, and I think we had enough conversation. All in favor, say aye.
Well, wait a minute.
No, you're not approving anything.
No,
Oh, you don't want to do that?
this ain't finalized in no way, shape, or form here.
So then,
It's gonna have to wait.
it's gonna have to wait till next month.
Does that, if we wait a month, does that give you time to get it in on the ballot, on the election?
I think, well, I mean, the question that's going on the ballot, you're okay with. It's the resolution you're not okay with, right? So,
Yeah, that's true.
so I'll just
So the
have,
question should still be on the ballot, and then the resolution would just get modified, and hopefully.
yeah, I'm just gonna have to tell the county we don't have the resolution. It's still under discussion.
Yes, just ask them if they can wait till next month. I think they will.
I'll
And it's just
ask.
the township.
I'll ask.
See, it's just, I'm looking at the legal part of it. In order to do this, we had to follow certain options under state law in order to make this a appointed position. We couldn't just do it because we wanted to. We have to follow state
But
law
it's
to do it.
already an appointed position.
It's an elected position.
Oh,
Yeah.
And in order to change it from an elected position to an appointed position, there were certain criteria you had to follow, and this is what he gave us.
I think we're not
Okay.
trying to change it to an appointed position, though. We're just temporarily, if we run into a bind, we need the ability to be able to appoint somebody to fill the shoes.
That's saying the same thing.
Well, it's not a permanent change in the township. This is a
Well,
temporary
it
change
is
in the
unless
township.
we talk to the attorney to find out how to change it back. Because there'd be a
Okay.
procedure to go back to making it elected again too.
can you ask him if we could have it an elected position?
I thought she said this was only good for 3 years.
No,
4 years.
you have
the
to,
resolution.
once you adopt option B, you have to use option B for at least 3 years.
Okay, and then you'd have to do a resolution back.
Right, in some way, shape, or form.
A
Yeah.
question on the ballot, I'm thinking. Yeah.
Yeah, it would probably have to be voted on again, just like what we're talking about here.
It's gonna be too late.
Just go hammer on your neighbors, get somebody to file.
You know, we asked the attorney for his advice on how to do this. He's smarter than all three of us put together.
He didn't have the grilling questions like we're raising tonight, but I don't know that this is 100% bulletproof.
So we can't make a motion tonight on this resolution?
No,
No.
Not on the resolution, but you can instruct her to put that therefore question on the ballot so that she can remove it if she has to before election. Get it, push the line and get it printed.
that's a good idea.
Question.
Well, and the
Just
other
make
question that came up though was when you put the appointment of town clerk and treasurer when he's got 2 years
Now,
left.
that part is not in the question.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Right on the top, appointment of town clerk and treasurer.
Clerk, that's all it says on that. Therefore clause. It doesn't say anything about trigger or therefore clause.
Well, I'm reading right up in the top in the black bold print. Yeah.
And I'm saying the clerk that gets it on the ballot is down here, this therefore. And that's only for.
Well, the next paragraph down says, shall option B providing for the appointment of the clerk and treasurer by the town board be adopted?
His position's not up really, so I don't think the clerk will even, or the treasurer would even apply. Because he's still under term. Yeah,
Well, what I'm getting at is this resolution says we'll appoint the clerk and treasurer.
yeah, but he's still under contract for his term, his
That's my
elected
question.
term.
That's my question though.
But the clerk is going to publish on the ballot, it doesn't say anything about trigger. It's down here, the last, the second to the last paragraph, everyone talks about it. And it doesn't recite any of this resolution stuff that you can still work on.
Which part you reading there, Gordy? The second?
Second, right before adopted,
Yeah?
next paragraph up.
That the township of Great Cloud Island directs placement of the question on the ballot for submitting to the voters?
Right. In the event no one files for candidacy for clerk, that's all you're publishing on ballots. And you can do the resolution late. And you can withdraw this if it turns out you don't like it, you just go on it.
Dick, I'll make sure that the county doesn't have treasurer included on the question.
Okay. If, I'd check with David, because if that's allowable under this option B.
Yes, it says right in the statute that the language can be changed if it's
Okay.
not both positions.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Motion to other?
So what are we gonna do? Have David take another stab at this and get back to us, or what?
I think a simple conversation, it'll be easy to comprehend what we're trying to ask, and
Yeah.
I don't think it'll be that hard.
Do we have to meet again then, so you can get this on the,
I will let you know.
because what we could do, instead of posting a public hearing and all that good stuff, is extend this meeting 1 week, meet for 15 minutes to put a stamp of approval on this and be on with life.
What I would say is just wait 6 days, because it's not gonna change a whole lot. Wait 6 days. If no one files, call David Schneider. Otherwise, don't waste your time if we don't have to.
Okay, so what we should do, if we're gonna do that, is we gotta be back together to approve this resolution and put it on the ballot, right?
It's already on the it's going on the ballot. The question's going on the ballot. That has nothing to do with the resolution.
Okay.
We approve the resolution or disapprove it. The question will be on there if we don't get a clerk.
Okay, which part of this are you calling the resolution here? The way I read it, a resolution for ballot question to approve option B, providing for the appointment of town clerk and treasurer.
She's gonna call the county to make sure treasurer is not on the ballot. Other, moving on. Good, Dick?
To be honest with you, I don't
Right.
know. Well, David said we could do that. Okay,
We'll be fine.
because I thought he took this right out of state statute and you were stuck with
I don't
what
see
it
the
said.
10 clerks coming after us that are signing up for the position.
No,
so
no,
think
I
we'll
just
be
wanted to
all
do it legal so we
The
don't get ourselves in
question,
trouble.
the question on the ballot came from the state statute. The rest of this, I had to Google and find. I didn't have a resolution that I could bastardize,
So that part right under my thumb is right out of state statute.
Yes.
See, that's kind of my question. If that's right
Oh,
out
no,
of,
not a resolution. What's out of state statute is, shall option B, providing for the appointment of the clerk by the town board, be adopted for the government of the town. That's straight out of state statute.
see, that
There
kind
was
of-
another township that modified the language. And the language was more clear because it didn't say option B. Because when you read this, it's like, what's option B, right? Dave preferred this language. I polled you guys. 2 out of 3 of you said to go with what Dave wanted to do. So, and that is just the question for the ballot. This other stuff, the whereas, I had to Google resolutions
Okay.
for changing to an appointed position. And then I sent it to Dave. I said, I had nothing to go on here. I had to Google it. Look it over. Let me know what you think.
Well, okay. What if we did this?
People vote no,
Could we
saying,
do this
saying
whole
that we
thing?
don't approve that,
And
then
just
where are we at?
randomly
And I don't understand the process of the ballot. It seems like that's something has to
If we did
happen,
that, then we could
and we
do
need a
this
town
tonight.
clerk. And if the township votes no, and there's 3 people here that vote in this township, like, what are we doing?
Does it work? Use this whole
I
damn
mean, can
thing.
this be done with
Yeah,
a
yeah.
resolution by these
I'm gonna
guys
scratch out
without
treasurer.
a ballot?
He passes, run by David.
They'll have to hire somebody anyway.
Yeah, it's just like 45 minutes ago.
Yeah, we can.
Okay. Does that sound good? How's this sound?
He's got a good point. Like,
Yeah.
we would have the authority to do something anyway. Do we even need it on the ballot? Like, that is weird that it's a yes or no question. Because it needs
If
to
people
be
don't know,
yes.
then
Nobody.
you're stuck with your
then what?
Who said what we don't have one?
Oh, if like you said, for some reason everybody voted no, then what? We still have to have the ability to hire somebody to do something, so why do we even need this on the ballot? If nobody files, we would have to just,
Yeah, we don't know the answer to that.
no, but it's right, if people did vote no, then we don't have the authority to appoint somebody. So it basically needs to be on the ballot, and this is what would happen if nobody files, so here's where you're at. I don't know.
That's a whole nother question.
Probably
Yeah.
don't even need it on there. I don't know.
Well, here's
I
what
don't know, I don't know.
Here's what we were thinking. Maybe I'm slow in getting this, but yes. We were thinking of passing this. Scratch out treasurer.
Right,
The
yep,
whole thing, other than treasurer.
yeah.
We pass that tonight. You run it by David and see if we can legally do that.
Okay, what about this statement? Should we just scratch that
Which
whole,
one's that?
about the term? Should we just scratch that whole statement with,
No, we want to be able to.
I guess there should stay records.
Shall serve an indefinite time, meaning plus or minus. Just something that
They're gonna take the kids out.
you know, to
Down.
serve
Take the kids out till we leave their office. I don't do it.
office.
Yeah, I'm gonna just throw that for your troll, so they'll say, yeah, I'm gonna pass here, no, we're just gonna troll, so me and Rob just get through the crap.
Okay, you guys ready to start over? I'll make a motion, we pass this whole thing the way it's written, with the exception of that second paragraph. I'll read it. Shall option B, providing for the appointment of the clerk and treasurer, scratch treasurer. And then leave all the rest of it the same. If we pass it tonight, have Cheryl send it to David Snyder. If it's legal to do that, what we're doing, then send it to Washington County. That's my motion.
I'll second it.
Vote no if you don't like it.
Hearing no comments.
All in favor, aye.
All
Aye.
in favor, say aye.
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 2 out of 3, you don't have to say anything.
Yeah. Are we ready to adjourn?
Is there anything else? How about stuff from the floor? Any complaints?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
What if we both say no?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, everybody.